Throwaway time. What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? 2.5 years ago, I was in dire financial straits, so I sold my home to keep my struggling business afloat. I neglected to tell the owners that they have an 800 square foot bunker on the property that I built about 7 years ago. The bunker that I've called home since I sold it. The entrance to it is well hidden, but I still come and go very early, very late in the day. I'm a single man who keeps to himself. I'm now in a situation where I can move somewhere else, but I love this hidden paradise so much. Background: I'm a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care age 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a shit early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like, I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way and will stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my psycho birth mother who really wanted a daughter, and didn't let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in the legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country. Gave birth to me at home and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but it was always supervised. I found out way after that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie she used to explain why she was so strict about me being quote-unquote private, never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy and played with Lego and toy animals rather than dolls and stuff. But that's not unusual, and no one ever questioned I was a girl. Even me. I knew about men and women, but I'd never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my dick would just fall off or something and I would be a woman. And other kids would keep their dicks and they'd be men. I don't know, to be honest, I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy childhood and had a bunch of friends and everything was great until I was 7 and the teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mom was taken for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, delusional stuff. I wasn't allowed to go back home and got put into a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved schools, so lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already and going from a sheltered religious only child upbringing to a rough and tumble testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to commit suicide when I was 11 and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. For when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever, but I'm fine with that. I went through school and I got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing supportive wife. Everything looks great. But I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. I cut off all contact with everyone I know and moved to Kenya. I tell people a fake name and a fake background, and I've made it appear to my family that I died on a boat trip in the Pacific. No, I am not joking. I am dead in the United States. Okay, so this is a secret I've kept for nearly 20 years. During the summers when I was growing up, my parents would often leave my brother and I'm male, with our aunt and uncle who lived out in the country. It was great as they had 4 sons of ages close to ours, so we had a lot of fun doing kid stuff. One summer when I was 8, the oldest cousin was maybe 16. We somehow got talking and he asked me if I wanted to sleep in his room that night. He has the nicest room and bed, so I was all for it. Got into bed and he asked if he could touch my penis. I was 8 and just thought it was okay, so I let him. He rubs it for a bit and then asks me to do the same to him. So I do. This progresses and eventually I'm sucking his cock. I think I knew this was wrong, so I said I didn't want to carry on. We stop and I go to sleep quite confused. I wake up and he hands me some money and tells me never to tell anyone about what happened. Next night he tries to do the same thing, but now all I care about is the money. So I do it. This carried on for 2 summers. Eventually I got old enough to realize it was quite wrong regardless of the money and stopped. I've not told anyone about this. He's now married with 2 kids. I'm also married and we see them sometimes at family events. I don't have the balls to even try and talk to him about it. Hell, I'm not even sure what I'd say. I'm sure this will get buried, but just getting it off my chest makes me feel better. I once helped out my female friend's family by taking care of their cat for a week. Every day for a week I would go over there and snoop around their house. I found my friend's diary and proceeded to read the entire thing. I used this information to get her to like me, and she's currently my wife. When I was 13, during the summer before I started high school, I was molested by a guy who dragged me into an alley, backed me into a corner so I couldn't escape, and even if I tried to, I couldn't have because he was taller and stronger than I was, and pulled my pants down. I tried to draw attention to where I was because I'd gone over to a guy's house with my friend because she liked him, and when we went he just happened to have a friend there to hang out with me while they went off and did whatever. Anyway, I tried to shout and make as much noise as I could, and the guy goes, "This would be easier if you're lying down," and tried to force me to the ground. Then my friend finally shows up and goes, "Oh my god, my name. What are you doing?" And the guy obviously doesn't go, "Oh yeah, no, I was trying to rape her, this is my idea," but instead goes, "She was trying to have sex with me," laughing, and just walks away. Then my friend doesn't believe me when I tell her he dragged me into the alley because she disappeared well before anyone could see him pulling on my arm with both hands and me trying to resist it as much as I could. I never told anyone because I didn't want them to react the same way my quote-unquote friend did. I think about it a lot, and every day I say, maybe this will be the day I finally tell my parents what happened. And then I never do. That was almost 6 years ago. My friend and I no longer speak. But I'd stopped being friends with her maybe 5 or 6 months after that because she told a couple of our other friends that I tried to have sex with a guy I'd known for all of 5 minutes during the summer. I faked the last 2 years of college education. My parents put so much pressure on me I couldn't handle it. I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety. So I faked it all. Lied to everyone. Made up fake transcripts. I just got my foot in the door in my desired field thanks to a friend as they hired me as a subordinate. This place only hires college grads, but no one double-checked my credentials since I was recommended. My hopes is that if I need to find another job, I'll have been at this place long enough to get it by experience alone. I work for a very prestigious company. I'm not bad at my job, I'm actually quite good. But my fear is eventually I'll hit a wall and the lie will come to light. No one has known this for the better part of a decade. It's a relief to finally say it out loud. I can't even tell those I love. My silence is my prison. When I was 17, I had an argument with my father and told him to fuck off. Later that evening he hung himself. Our argument was the last time he spoke to anyone in our family, and for that I feel a terrible amount of guilt. Instead of him saying goodbye and I love you to my mom and brothers, he got told to fuck off before he went and killed himself. My punishment is to live the rest of my days in shame and guilt. He never left a note either.